Hello and welcome to the JB&M Sports Fanatic channel. Thank you guys so much for coming through for this top 25 review entering into week 8 here. And so, of course, let's go ahead and review everything that happened in week 7 in terms of just going game by game here. And I'll give you my analysis on these teams and just some of these teams and where I think that they stand. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the top 25 as, of course, there's been a lot of shakeups since the last time we reviewed it. So, at number 1, they've got the University of Georgia. So no surprise here. I mean, Georgia should be number 1 in the country. They're 7-0 right now. And I mean, quite frankly, they just beat down Kentucky. They showed clear dominance there. I mean, the fact that Kentucky was the first team to actually put up a touchdown on the Bulldogs in the first half, I think that speaks volumes to the defense that the Bulldogs have. And obviously, I'm seeing some good stuff in their offense as well that complements the great defense that they have. I mean, even the week before, they won impressively down at Auburn, and then they followed that up with this win against Kentucky. We've seen them throughout the season. They've consistently shown that their defense is the real deal. They beat Kentucky 30-13. And so, putting them at number 1, that was pretty much a no-brainer right now compared to where everybody else is sitting right now in the standings. At number 2, I love the number 2 one right here, Cincinnati. Cincinnati did not play any time with UCF. They put them away early and often. They went out there, took care of business. I love this team, and I'm very happy that right now we see them ranked as high as we do at number 2. Because honestly, I mean, when they beat Notre Dame, I think they deserve the right that if they can win out and just not just win out, but continue to show the dominance that they're showing so far, you have to like their odds of finally getting the chance to be considered for the college football players. Obviously, there's a lot of time between now and then. Many things will come up and go by before that happens. But right now, Cincinnati, just keep doing what you're doing. I like the aspect of putting them over a team like Oklahoma, although I will go ahead and jump to Oklahoma now, and we can sort of see the difference. I mean, if you look at some of my earlier videos talking about Oklahoma, I said that, I was pretty much convinced that they were not, as good a team as they were ranked. In the committee also seemed that way as well with the AP poll, I should say, because they dropped from 2 to 6. However, ever since installing Caleb Williams into the starting lineup for Oklahoma, they have been looking really good offensively. So putting them at number 3, I can understand. I mean, personally, would I put Bama there? I mean, you have to go up off the fact that Oklahoma's undefeated right now, so that's why I would put them over Bama right now. But if Bama was playing them head-to-head, you best believe I'd be going with Bama right now. But I certainly cannot argue putting them at number 3. Caleb Williams, he provides a sense of energy to this team. Don't know what's going to happen with Spencer Rattler moving forward, but if I'm a real Oklahoma fan or someone that wants to see Oklahoma succeed, it doesn't matter what they do with him because Caleb Williams, he is the spark the offense needed. So I'm excited for him and what this means for them moving forward, But with that, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is Alabama. Alabama still controls their own destiny. If they can run the tide from here on out, they'll be in the college football playoffs. However, they cannot afford to take another loss right now. They really just cannot do it because, that loss at A&M last week, that was a big-time loss right there. But they did rebound nicely on the road at Mississippi State and beat them 49-9. So talk about a statement when I had no doubt that they were going to go ahead and rebound nicely after that embarrassment of a loss the week before, And so next up, Ohio State. Now, obviously, Ohio State, they benefited from not having to play a game last week. And Ohio State's, their best challenges are going to be ahead of them. Obviously, they lost to Oregon, and Oregon, they've not look like the same, I guess you could say they've had a bit of a struggle since then. Obviously, Oregon's lost their running back and stuff. But obviously, if you're Ohio State, you're monitoring Oregon's situation right now because the better that Oregon does, the better that loss will look. If Oregon falls apart at some point, then that loss would not look too good. But, as of right now, Oregon's still a top 10 team. So, that bodes well for Ohio State. And as for that, just the fact that they have a lot of teams left to go in the Big Ten that's going to present some nice challenges that will bode well for Ohio State moving forward. So they still sort of control their destiny, but they have to also win the eye test and show the committee that their defense is improved as well. But I like what I'm seeing from C.J. Stroud and company. So putting them at number 5, no arguments there. At number 6, Michigan. And so, Michigan, Ohio State hand in hand there. And so, Michigan, putting them at number 6. I like the move right here from Michigan. Just thinking about what they've done throughout the course of the season. This offense looks a lot better than what we've seen, throughout years and stuff. And so just thinking about that, that's pretty good for them. Now, I know the last time that we saw Michigan last week against Nebraska, that was a close game, 32-29 was they were able to win. But previous Michigan teams would not have been able to pull that win off in terms of just how the game was going. But that shows that Michigan team, they've come a long way. So I'm excited really for that Ohio State-Michigan matchup towards the end of the year that I think personally will be, whoever wins, that's probably going to win the Big Ten. But obviously, there's a lot of other good teams to consider as well in the Big Ten this year. So it's not going to be just a cakewalk or anything like that. But yeah, Michigan's in a good spot at number 6. At number 7 is Penn State. And so, yeah, Penn State, they did lose to Iowa. It was a close one when they lost to Iowa, but, obviously bouncing back, so just where Penn State is right now, obviously they're another team in the Big Ten that can't control their destiny right now, but they'll certainly have to continue to win on out moving forward. So we'll see what this has for this Penn State team. But, yeah, I mean, they have a couple wins already under their belt, beating a team like Wisconsin. That's always good. But, yeah, I mean, for them, their best part is going to be later in the season in terms of just really getting an evaluation on how this team's going to do. Speaking of how a team's going to do, Oklahoma State, great job with that victory over Texas. I mean, that was a good game right there. I saw some good stuff in that defense. I mean, we're talking about the same offense in Texas that lit up Oklahoma's defense for 48 points. And then they came out against Oklahoma State. And it was Oklahoma State's defense that really set the tone in that one versus Texas and the weapons that they have there. So certainly that was a big-time win there. They're undefeated right now. They're still in play for the conference. If Oklahoma State wants to think about college football playoffs, winning out the rest of the way is the only path that I see possible for these guys. But there's certainly a team to keep note of right there because I do like what I'm seeing from them defensively compared to years past and obviously with their offense. So certainly looking forward to that. But, yeah, they're at number 8, and I love this for them. I probably would have put them at number 7 right now, but put them at number 8, I can't argue that. At number 9, Michigan State, they are 7-0 right now. Had a couple of close games. I mean, even this week, Indiana kept it close. Indiana actually had the lead at halftime. Michigan State ended up winning 2015. I just think that's the type of team Michigan State is, that they're the kind of team. They're going to go out there, they're going to fight hard, and they're going to win the hard-fought games. And so putting them at number 9, can't argue too much about that. Certainly understand that. At number 10, Oregon. I mean, some might say maybe Iowa there, but after Iowa lost, we'll get to Iowa in a second. But for Oregon, yeah, putting them at number 10, I certainly understand that. I still love the way their offense is constructed. Obviously, they did, have a big letdown, a little while ago, and so that does hurt in terms of why they're ranked number 10. They had a great path to the college football players after beating Ohio State, but having that loss in their resume, that really is going to hurt right there. But put him at number 10, I like this for them. Obviously, losing their running back, that did hurt. And so we'll see how this team finishes moving forward. But certainly, that loss to Stanford, that does hurt the resume right there. At number 11, Iowa, talking about loss. And, yeah, losing to Purdue. I'm not going to say I saw this coming, especially a 24-7 beatdown when you're at home versus Purdue. But I do remember that, throughout the years, I've seen Purdue pull up quite a few upsets like this. I remember Ohio State one year went down to Purdue, and Purdue just lit them up that time. So Purdue tends to do that sometimes. If you catch them on a night game and stuff like that, and the setting's just right, it just happens like that. So, but yeah, that was a big loss for Iowa. They dropped all the way from number 2 to number 11. So, I mean, the season's not done. They still can have college football playoff applications, but hey, they're probably going to need a little bit of things to just go their way, and they're certainly got to win out the rest of the way and also do so a little bit convincingly as well. But, yeah, that was a big-time loss for the Iowa Hawkeyes. At number 12, Ole Miss. And so Ole Miss, being able to move up from 13 to 12, I'm happy for Ole Miss. I know the last week beating Arkansas the way that they did, it came down to the wire, but they were able to survive that one and win a shootout in that one. And so obviously we know what Ole Miss, what they can do. Being in the SEC is going to be tough, but they did beat Tennessee, down at Tennessee. That was a hard-fought game, but they were able to win 31-26. And so, yeah, definitely think that putting them at number 12, can't argue with that. At number 13 is the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame. And so obviously for them, the biggest thing has been that loss that they had to Cincinnati. That was huge. If they win that game, that bodes extremely well for them. But they lost that one. They've had a couple close games here and there that they could have lost, so they're not winning the eye test either and not having a conference championship at the end of the season. Right now, Notre Dame's focus should be win the rest of your games, and then, if you end up in a good bowl game, that's good right there. In terms of putting this team at number 13, I definitely understand that. I mean, shoot, I might have even put Coastal Carolina above Notre Dame right now. I probably would have put them at 13 personally. Because I've seen Notre Dame struggle with Florida State, had us thinking Florida State was back. That wasn't the case, and such forth. But yeah, at number 14, you have Coastal Carolina. And so Coastal Carolina, I'm really looking forward to their upcoming matchup against Appalachian State down at Appalachian State. See how they fare in that one, but they're 6-0. The Chandeliers are doing pretty good this year. I'm excited for them moving forward. And so, I mean, just keep taking care of business. You know, you can't control sometimes some elements in terms of who you play. Now, obviously, the athletic director can make that can somewhat help with that, but ultimately you're in the conference that you're in, so you just keep going out there and playing your style of ball, and at the end of the season we'll see where they end up at. But it's certainly another good campaign here for Coastal Carolina and one of the funnest teams to watch out there this season. Okay, so at number 15 they have Kentucky. They fell from 11 to 15, so certainly understand that for the Kentucky Wildcats there. But, I mean, that loss to Georgia. Georgia's just the top team right now in the country. And playing against that defense, that was a tough matchup. I knew going into that one, this one had the potential to be one-sided in the case of Georgia. But Kentucky still showed heart at the very end of the game, still fighting hard. And so dropping it from 11 to 15, I understand that they do have a couple big wins under their belt. But now beating Florida doesn't seem as much because LSU, they just beat Florida as well. And so, yeah, definitely understand that. But, yeah, Kentucky at 15, no arguments there. At number 16, Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest is a team that I'm keeping an eye out for in terms of who's going to win the ACC. They're certainly a contender. Now, they've had a lot of close games this year, a lot of close games and stuff, and they are fighting extremely hard to win those games. So as long as they keep the winning formula and keep doing what they're doing, they'll end up in a good spot. But, yeah, certainly want to see them continue to win the rest of the way moving forward here as I'm rooting for them to win the ACC, and they're just a team that's going out there fighting hard, finding ways to win, honestly. Speaking of finding ways to win, Texas A&M. Last week they had the shock of the week beating Bama. Nobody saw that coming. They're no longer, unranked. They were 21. Now they're 17. So you see they're quickly climbing. They went down to Missouri, beat them 35-14, and so now all eyes are on them. They are a 2-loss team at 5-2, but yeah, I mean, let's see how they finish the rest of the way in the SEC. At number 18, North Carolina State. And so for North Carolina State, another team that's in the ACC, they went down to Boston College and beat them pretty decisively, 33-7. So that was an impressive win right there for North Carolina State to go down to Boston College and beat them in that manner. So we'll see how they contend moving forward. They are 5-1, so conference play, that's still something within reach for them, and we'll see how they do moving forward. At number 19, you have coming from unranked, you've got Auburn, and I cannot blame Auburn. I mean, they went down to Arkansas, and Arkansas was ranked, and not only did they win that game, but they won it 38-23. So certainly I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do moving forward. Of course, we know at the end of the season they typically, they'll play that Bama matchup. We'll see how they do heading forward to that. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of good matchups coming in before that because that's just SEC football for you. But for them to be 5-2, rank them at 19, that's really good for them. I mean, They really did good going on the road and beating Arkansas like that, 38-23. So that was an impressive win right there for them. Now, when we're talking about Baylor here, I mean, they went from unranked to ranked number 20. So clearly the committee loves the win that they had, and that was against BYU, who was at the time, ranked. And so that was obviously big to beat them 38-24. So the committee was impressed by that, and we'll continue to keep our eyes out on Baylor. They are 6-1 this year, so let's see how they finish this year. If they can finish strong, they can get themselves a nice bowl game, and we'll see how that plays out for them. And so, yeah, and for SMU, they stay the same. They're still ranked at 23 for SMU, so certainly, I mean, they're ranked at 21. I'm sorry, last week they were 23. So we'll see how SMU continues to do, but certainly this is another fun, exciting team to watch, moving forward. And yeah, when it comes to the Mustangs, you got to love what they present, in terms of just matchups on the field. And, yeah, certainly a good team to keep an eye out for sure moving forward. And so San Diego State, the Aztecs, they had a bit of a struggle against San Jose State. Did not think that was going to go to overtime, but it did go to overtime. And so they ended up winning 19-13. And so, yeah, they ended up going from 24-22 after that performance. They're still undefeated. And so sometimes you just find ways to win, and that becomes the culture. I mean, sometimes that's what it happens. And so clearly that's the case for them, and I'm excited to see them the rest of the way moving forward. And yeah, the next three teams on our list, talking about, let's see, Pittsburgh. When it comes to Pittsburgh, they went from being unranked. They've already got one loss this year, but they are ranked 23. And so that leads me to believe that this football team is certainly one that can contend in the ACC. They're certainly in position to do that. Then being able to beat Virginia Tech on the road at Virginia Tech, that is pretty big right there for them. I mean, going down to Virginia Tech, that's not an easy W right there. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to do moving forward. And so ranked at 24 now, another team coming in from being unranked is UTSA. So for UTSA, they beat Weiss pretty convincingly, 45-0. And so they got Louisiana Tech coming up for them. And right now they're currently 7-0 right now. So we'll look and see how they're doing moving forward the rest of the way. But yeah, the Road Runners, right now they're running the table. So absolutely looking forward to seeing how they're going to continue to do in Conference USA moving forward. And at 25, Purdue. And so we know what Purdue did. This is why they're coming in from being unranked to ranked. They beat the number 2 ranked team in the country in Iowa. Upset of the week right there. And so, yeah, to see Iowa fall from 2 to 11 is because this team, Purdue, they're rising here. They're 4-2, and they're going from unranked to ranked. So certainly understand them being at 25 and getting the nod over teams like Clemson, Utah, Arkansas, and teams like that. But there you have it. That's the top 25. And, of course, we'll see how these teams do next week. And, of course, this time next week, you guys can expect to see even more updates, coming forward, But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to press the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I mean, we do a lot of, college football play-by-plays on Saturdays. And in addition to that, I do NFL, NBA starting up too. So definitely make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with all kind of content. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining, and see you guys next video.